let's talk a little Minnesota Wild just in the meantime, which I got to ask you, Z, is it a little, and we say this out of love, I'm not taking shots or anything. Our boy Micheletti comes out after the Vegas loss and like shows the Wild's record against playoff teams in the West. It's like, I know you saw a stat and you want to throw it out there and be excited. The Wild have dealt with quite the injury bug of late. And earlier in the year, I'm with you, Micheletti. Like, we were not beating the West playoff contenders, and it's a problem. But to say that after the Vegas game, where, like, for a lot of the game, it was competitive, and we are without some pretty substantial players, that's like, Isha, you didn't bite your tongue. You replied right away. Shut up. Had to bite my tongue. Shut your mouth. But,
as I was yelling.
So, I am with you, Micheletti, 100%, that was a problem. But to bring it up after this Vegas loss, I think is a little knee-jerk, unnecessary, reactionary, get people to comment, whatever. But, I don't know. Are you concerned in general? Let's take the Vegas game out of it, Z. Do you think that the Wild are in a position where they can beat any of the teams they're likely to match up with in a 7-game series?
So what you just said too is what makes this so interesting. It's like at the start of the year, yeah, like when they were mostly healthy, we were like, oh, they started off obviously incredibly well. They had a pretty decently easy start, mixed in a couple wins, against like really good teams. And then like now as the schedule's really picked up, the injuries are comical. Like, I mean, another thing that we talk about every fucking season is if they can stay healthy, they could be a pretty good team. And they like, this is a new level of like, I mean, not just the quantity of injuries, but the different, like Zuccarello get hit in the nuts with a puck. Like, I mean, he missed some time with that. And just like a couple of defensemen deciding to like play goalie and like catch pucks. And then just some of the unlucky shit, and then like a brutal hit or the slew foot on Spurgeon. Like, it is like they are diversifying their portfolio of injuries, and it's actually
and the trickle down effect too, man. Insane. Like the Zuccarello nut blaster. Like, why do you think Carill's struggling right now?
It's crazy.
Lingering effect there.
Yeah. I don't know. I still think like. And even last night, because I had to go back and watch as much of it as I could today throughout the day, because obviously I was dead this weekend, literally. But like
you're like
first
Jesus,
period,
dude. It was 3 days and you rose again.
Here I am. He is risen. But brutal. But like the first period against Vegas, like. They looked really good, especially the first like 10 minutes or so. I mean, they could have scored 3 or 4 goals in that opening 10 minutes or so. And I mean, it's just over time, like the thing with those injuries is like more guys are playing more and more. They're getting more ice time that they probably shouldn't be getting. Like the third, poor Zach Bogosian. That was like, I watched the third period this afternoon of the Vegas game. Oh my God. Poor fucking, who's scoring goals at the same time?
Work was super busy today, by the way.
What?
Work was super busy today.
Yeah, it was. That might have not helped me. The fact that I had a third screen over here, I was like, oh my, is that a second fucking like penalty in the third period? Jesus Christ.
Not awesome.
I still think though, like the fact that they're still in their last 10 games, what are they, 7-2-1? They're 6-3 without Kaprizov. Like the fact that they're still putting up wins, and this is such a weird, I still think this is such a weird year, like around the league, where there's so few teams I would put in like that actual elite category. And like even in the Central, all the top teams that you've seen big bumps along the way. Like Winnipeg had a stretch there after their like insanely hot start. They went like 10 games where they were like under 500. Dallas has been weird. They're either like unbelievable or they've been terrible. And then Colorado's like a problem now that they're getting healthy and like the Shushkin's back and like they've in theory done things about their goaltending.
How many people declared them dead with the start of the season? We're just like, yeah, if these injuries last all year, sure, but it's gonna correct. It's gonna. And not to mention, we still don't know if it's going to happen. But dude, if Landeskog comes back, like,
well, I mean, I would have a hard time putting any stock into like whether or not he would significantly. I mean, he hasn't played hockey.
He will be an upgrade from what their middle six is.
I guess they just. I
No
mean, he hasn't played hockey.
He's in like.
It's been like a year and a half, 2 years since he's actually played hockey. Like it's, like, I don't know. So that's why I'm like, I don't know.
He's making a comeback.
Okay, he says he wants to.
Now we know if Landeskog like went to some Buddhist village and
I mean, maybe he took that picture of tapes. Maybe he was the one behind the camera.
He went and found Eric Bachman.
Oh God, but. I would say they're good enough to compete and potentially win around, but they still need they need more scoring from outside of like basically Marco. Oh, there you go. Flyer Voracek said it. But like the bottom six, like is essentially a black hole for offense at this point. I mean,
who do you want to face in the first round? Like who do we have the best chance of beating? That's a realistic matchup.
Weirdly, and it's not the right answer most likely, but like just watching more and more Dallas this year, I still don't know what they are. Like I still can't get a grasp on like because they've been so up and down, and like they've had a couple of games where they're blowing like 3-goal leads and shit. And I know it's like Dallas, which we have PTSD from, but like just historically, I mean, I was God, which year? Oh yeah, 2060 was sick. Like. That one was a ridiculous series. Like it's been just not fun to play them in the playoffs for the Minnesota Wild for like the last few times or whatever. But I still think right now I can't get a good gauge on whether or not like they're legit because I've seen them play some like, I mean, bad hockey. And like Ottinger, same thing. Like he's had a few games where he's like, he looks like the Vezina level goalie. And then there's a couple where he's like, he cannot stop a beach ball right now. So.
Safe to say that they are the highest ceiling, lowest floor of the teams. Like that's why you're willing to take them on, because if they're at their best, they are the best team in the division, possibly the West. But they're low. If we're taking injuries out of the equation, their low is lower than everyone else because their blue line is not what it's been the last couple of years. And Ottinger is shaky. He's either lights out or you're afraid. Like, yeah. I think Dallas fans would tell you the same. So I'm with you. And it's one of those things where it's kind of vanquishing the demons too, right? Like Wild aren't going on a Stanley Cup run this year. That, like, let's be real. But it's like a light version of Washington having to beat Pittsburgh, you know, after several years of the East semis, matching up with the Penguins, being the better team in the regular season and the Penguins just being their daddy. They finally beat them, and that was a big propelling point. Like, even if we only win in the first round against Dallas, like that alone does so much for the fan base, so much for the locker room, to position you that next year you're actually feeling good about yourselves and you're positioning to maybe make a little bit more of a run.
Yeah. And like, it's funny too, because it's like, just like saying that it feels sad. Like, it's like fuck round 2. Yeah. We're not even going to watch that fucking shit. They're going to get the shit kicked out. But if they win that first round, but I'm with you though. I agree. Like I'm just saying it's funny. Like the posting it that way is still like in my head very funny. Yeah. Where it's like this would be so much. Hang a banner, hang a fucking banner. Go full Nashville.
You know what? It's just as meaningful of a banner as the Kuiper one. So I'm in.
You know what? The team that can be actually pronounced is like beyond dead, unsuspectingly. Nashville is fucking horrific. That team.
But what happens with them? Do they sell off, or do they just chalk this up as like, holy shit, like things couldn't have gone worse, we're just gonna figure it out in the offseason, run it back? Like, does Ryan O'Reilly get traded?
Well, that's what's crazy. Was like I saw Friedman put out.
Does he return to Minnesota?
That would be electric. It's like
he's already the best center
already meant to be
history. So
funny, dude.
That I told you the shirt I got, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like it's crazy. Like Friedman put out that tweet. It was just like Nashville treating this situation like, oh my God, what comparison did he use? Where he's basically just be like, hey, you tell us if you want to go where you want to go, we'll make it happen. Which is like, holy fuck. Like, I never would have thought they would have been like this bad. I mean, I don't think anyone would have expected this level of just like, I mean, they are terrible. Like, they are so bad. It's like at no point have they improved. Like,
no, if you told me that they were like a fringe playoff team, I'd be like, sure, I can see a world where that's like.
And you're probably being like, oh, fuck, like a top dog getting them in the first round. Like, they've just like struggled all year, but like they make it into the playoffs. It's going to be like, that's not a team.
They're not.
Those guys aren't who I want to play. It is like, it's insane.
Well, and what's worse for them too, because they've got like some great players. I think one of them plays in Four Nations. And that's like the one thing that a lot of teams are looking at. If they got a guy that's like slumping a little bit and they need him to bounce back, like Four Nations, as much of a gimmick tournament as it is, that's a spot where a guy can find their game. Shit, Matt Boldy could go out there and refine some consistency and get back on his game. Like, we would love that. They literally have Forsberg. That's it. Name another guy on their team that's going to be playing in Four Nations. I don't think Saros, but he's also not the problem. So
it's like nothing's gone well. All that to say, like, I still think Minnesota's good enough. I mean, they've proved, like, with these injuries, they're just like stringing these wins, and I don't really care about like when they have half a lineup. They have like half a lineup. They literally have to sign a fifth goalie to league minimum to like for like cap space reasons. And all the injured reserves, like guys are getting on retroactive IR and shit. And the fact that like they're hitting the stretch now where they're playing the Colorado, the Vegas, like it's crazy. So like it's tough to like gauge how much of it is legit. But I mean, there is like again, like this the whole season though, it's been like there's been questions, but they still have a couple of big wins too.
Give me a scale of 1 to 10. Likelihood of Marc-Andre Fleury coming back.
I feel like at this point, it feels like a 50-50.
I would have said 6, yeah.
Because, like, he's been great.
But it's less about him.
Right. Well, the combination of, like, well, realistically, it's that and, like, the fact that Wallstedt's having such a down year. And now he's
down year, and Fleury does not want to stop playing.
Right. Has he said that he wants to play more?
No, but it's been hinted by Russo. Like, he came on with me and Joe a week or two ago and, like, basically said, like, we'll see. Like, he's not saying that Fleury's coming back or that Fleury's said anything, but as soon as Russo says, we'll see if he, like, actually hangs him up, that tells me that there's at least, like, something being tossed around behind the scenes, right? Like,
yeah, and I mean... And like the most obvious statement of all time, if he's like, hey, Billy, I kind of want to go another year, he's getting signed in 2 seconds. Like, I mean, it's like a no-brainer to bring him back again.